Folks, you are truly loving this new guest. He has come on and brought a whole new plethora of information about buying a business. Yes, you're excited about Cody Sanchez, but we have Beau Eckstein, who is the concierge to getting your small businesses done with lending. We're going to dive into the most common SBA financing. It is SBA 7A. Beau, thank you very much for being here, helping out the one rental at a time, folks. We are all excited by what Cody Sanchez is talking about, but most of us don't have the cash to buy the business, so we got to come to you, the concierge. So tell us about SBA 7A. What is it? How's it done? All that good stuff.
Sure. So the 7A, most banks offer the 7A program versus the 504. They like doing the 7A. It's a more flexible product, and they can underwrite everything in-house if they're a PLP lender. So I believe the banks make a lot more premium than they do on the 504. So a lot of them push the 7A, but 7A is usually a better option. We're going to talk about why it's a better option most of the time. And then, maybe on another segment, we'll do a 504, but this is specific to the 7A today. And it's 80% of all SBA loans are 7A. So it's the meat and potatoes of the SBA program.
Okay. So when you say it's 80%, I'm guessing transactions and price, or maybe SBA 7A or smaller deals. I have no idea. 80% of what?
So 80% of the volume for SBA loan programs, give or take, it's somewhere around the 80% mark. And I believe they authorized in 2021 105 billion of 7A loans. And I don't know if authorized means funded or just granted, but it's probably somewhere, north of 50 billion, I think it was 70 something billion, but I have to double check that. It's considerable. It's a big number. And most businesses today are going to be funded. If they're funded with some kind of financing or debt, it's going to be SBA financing.
Absolutely. So what makes the 7A? Is it because it's flexible? Is it the underwriting? Is it the, easiest to get done? What makes 7A 80% of the market?
So SBA was really kind of initiated to help small businesses of America, grow, start, thrive. And so most banks would not make a 90% loan to cost loan because they're way more conservative, and there's going to be some sort of default rate on that high of leverage. So the SBA will guarantee up to 85% of that guaranteed amount of that total project cost. So 85% of that loan amount is guaranteed. So that's why the banks are willing to make these deals. And the banks are also willing to make these deals because they make a lot of money when they sell off the guaranteed portion of the loan. And they do that once they close escrow. So basically you're getting a funding package that's not readily available. You're not going to get this high of loan proceeds anywhere else other than the SBA programs. So that's why most business owners or people looking to acquire businesses are going to look at SBA, because it's really the ultimate option. If I'm buying a business and my total project cost is $1 million, I can get up to $900,000 with SBA loans. Okay. Wow. So that means I got to come in with 100 grand, and I can tell the seller to carry back 5% on standby. And it used to have to be on standby for the full term of the loan. Now it only has to be on standby for 2 years. So now I just bought this $200,000 or $300,000 cash flow stream for 50 grand out of pocket. And I didn't have that 50 grand. So I reached out to my friend, Michael Zuber. I said, Michael, I'll make you a 7% owner of the business. This is how you're going to be paid down. And then you're going to retain ownership, forever until we decide that, hey, I'm going to give you 100 grand for your 50. So we can take in returns for our investors in this. It can't be a loan. Michael couldn't give me a loan, but he could be an investor in the transaction.
This is why you're the concierge, and that's why I love you on this channel, because you know all the levers and knobs. So what you just did for me is you allowed me to buy $1 million business. You allowed me to get a $900,000 loan from SBA. You allowed me to get a silent second, or whatever you want to call it, from the seller for 50 grand. And you allowed me to bring in a family member or friend for the additional 50. I'm in the deal zero. I've got a loan for 900. I got a silent piece for second, and I got an investor for 7, 8, 10, 12% of the business. I own 90% of the business, and I got zero money in the deal. That's what you just did for me. That's why you're the concierge.
Yeah, we structured a lot of deals that way, because at the end of the day, what I'm seeing and we're getting people from your community reaching out, and a lot of them are just getting started in looking for franchises or business acquisitions. And I'm giving them kind of a general talk about how everything works in detail. But really, it enables somebody who's a Bay Area resident, they're making 6 figures a year, and they know they want more out of life. They want to build legacy. And let's face it, if you're working for a company, you're really usually not building your legacy, you're building theirs, unless you own a big portion of stock options and it's a startup and there's huge upside on that. So a lot of people are saying, hey, can I go out and find a business or franchise that I can, spend 20 or 30 hours a week on, get ramped up, and eventually replace my 100K a year W-2 income? And yes, it's quite possible. And that's what I'm really helping people do. And once they acquire a business and they learn, how to maneuver it, they can go and buy another business. There's people, that's all they do. They've owned 5 or 6 businesses, and they have CFOs, they have team members. And so it takes a little bit of a skill set to own a business. It's not like you can just walk in and you got to learn. Just like when you buy your first rental property, you're going to learn, but it's out there for all of us to take.
Yeah. So let's also talk about 7A. If somebody doesn't come to you, it's 80% of the business. What kind of documentation might they need from the seller, perhaps, or what personal documentation, tax returns, bank statements? I don't know, but what would somebody be ready to bring to you as the concierge?
Okay, so the concierge, what I do is I get enough information from you to get a term sheet, and then obviously once we identify the right bank, we're going to have more documents. But we just want to get term sheet. So for term sheet, typically we need 3 years of personal financials from you. If you own any other businesses or any other entities that you have your real estate holdings, we need 3 years of tax returns, year-to-date interims on those businesses that you already own. We need a debt schedule for any debts you have within your businesses. We need a personal financial statement, which in SBA lingo is called Form 413. We need Form 1919, which is essentially like an application for SBA. It's another SBA form. We need a management resume, a little bit of resume on you, your skill sets, what you've done in the past. And then for the business you're acquiring, we need 3 years of tax returns, year-to-date interim. A little bit of a summary of the business is usually helpful. What kind of business? If there's real estate involved, if they have any past appraisals or any other documentation. But that's the financials from the seller. And then obviously, if you know the purchase price, sometimes I get these way before they've negotiated a LOI. So just a kind of a ballpark. And then what we'll do is we'll figure out what the total sources and uses are, because you might be buying this painting company for $500,000 with no real estate. So I'm doing a painting company right now. And so our total loan amount is like $580 because we're putting in a little bit of working capital in the loan. We're putting a little bit of employees' salaries for the first 2 or 3 months. We're putting in a new painting equipment. So that $580 is our total project cost. And we got to come up with 10% of that total project cost. Right. Wow. So it's not just purchase price, it's everything. So you can build in a few months of working capital. So even if you decided, hey, I want to quit my job as soon as possible, you can actually put 4 or 5 months of working capital to pay your salary. So you're really getting extremely high leverage. And obviously it's got to meet debt service coverage requirements, just like a DSCR loan for rental property. Same thing with a business. It's got to meet those coverage. SBA's coverage is very low, though. It's only 1.15. Obviously, the better the debt coverage ratio, the better cash flow and the safer the deal. So if you're buying something with a debt coverage of 1.5, that would obviously be way better.
So the other thing I kind of think of, again, knowing nothing about this, you are the guy bringing the value to the channels. What kind of timeline should we tell someone? Say they want to get an SBA 7A going. They now know the documentation. Kind of from first contact to close, are we talking 4, 5, 6 months? I really have no idea.
Sure. So no real estate, just a business acquisition. We're looking at 60 days or less. Real estate deal, it could be on a 7A would be 60 to 90 days typically. And that's assuming that you're a good borrower, meaning when the processor asks for stuff, you're getting them the conditions right away.
Of course. Yeah. This is very cool. And again, folks, if you're interested in doing this, in really talking with the concierge about buying a business, you're following Cody Sanchez, but you need the money, we got Beau Eckstein here to help. Beau, how are they reaching out to you to get this started?
Simply go to beaueckstein.biz. It's a website.
and you're going to see one rental at a time. Click on that, takes you to a calendar link, and book a call at your convenience.
Folks, again, you're going to get 15 to 20 minutes of his time to really get you started. He'll have some base questions, I am sure. But there are plenty of you looking at buying a business. He is the concierge to get you the funding. beaueckstein.biz. It's a website, not an email. Thank you so much.